وبركاته. Today we will talk together about equitable and inclusive education. I need to say that learning for all. This is Ambassador Dr. Emmanuel Lam from Botany and Microbiology Department, Faculty of Science, Al-Azhar University of Cairo of Egypt. And this is my email for any contact. You are most welcome to contact me anytime. Second, please, my dear sister. Now let's go to the lecture. Next, please. Yes. What about inclusive and equitable education? We need to focus on them as essential goals in its own right. It's also critical to achieve an inclusive and equitable society in which every citizen has the opportunity to dream, to thrive, and to contribute to the nation development. As the education system must aim to benefit nations, children, and the nation youth, and so on, that no child will lose the opportunity to learn. It's a right, as our right to breathe, our right to eat, we need to learn, okay? And excel because of the circumstances of birth or background or any other crisis or any other problem. We have some socio-economically disadvantaged related to some groups, so we can characterize them based on some things like gender identities, like female and transgender individuals, and also we have socio-cultural identities, like being from tribes and being from castes and so on, or minors. We have also geographical identities, like coming from small towns, from villages, and so on. We have also disabilities. Disabilities also may affect learning, like blindness and so on. We have also socio-economic conditions like being a migrant or refugee and so on, or victims of war and so on. Next, please. Yes, education is a fundamental human right, as I said before, and an essential tool for achieving the objectives of equality and sustainable development. As we know, we have sustainable development goals. I'll talk about it. Number 4 of these goals is the quality of education. So we have many conventions related to many international conventions, like some conventions which is done by UNESCO related to education, and we must have zero discrimination in education. More than, I think now, more than 60 or nearly 70 years ago, UNESCO focused on this issue, that no discrimination in education at all, and in advance, the ideal of equality of education opportunities without regard to race, sex, or any distinctions, economic or social differences. We must not differentiate between people. All peoples are equal in getting the right of education. The purpose of these instruments recently recognized as education 2030 agenda. I think it's all over the world. It's a global agenda. We have the same in Egypt, and also I know that in India you have NIB and so on. We also need to adopt and concentrate on measures aimed to promoting equality of opportunities and treatments in this field. We need to focus on equality of opportunities. How to enhance the equilibrium. As a chemist, no social equilibrium will be done without equality in opportunities related to education. How come the equilibrium will be done inside our society? if we are discriminating some people and also making something like starvation in education to certain people or certain levels, it will be not done. So we need to do equality in all opportunities related to education. We need to cover the right of education, and we need to focus on this issue globally. Next, my dear sister. Accordingly, we have many, as I mentioned before, we have many conventions done by several countries as a member of UNESCO. Also, they are focused on the equality in opportunities in education, and also how to make, how to focus on the inclusion of education, make it globally. Like we need to talk about generalization and globalization, and we need to talk about national policies in education. So we need to discuss some conventions. We have many conventions done by the UNESCO, as I said before. It returned to more than 60 or 70 years ago. Next, please. We have 8 member state consultation. Yes, the diagram, please. Yes, we have many country reports, which is done by the UNESCO. As you can see here, UNESCO divided the globe into different areas, into different country members. We have Arab state, we have Western European and Eastern European, we have Latin America, we have Asian and Pacific state, which is Afro-Asian countries. We have African state and Arab states. They are doing reports to discuss problems. Such problems will affect the equality in getting opportunities in education in different countries. Next, please. The previous one. As a result of these reports, the previous one, please, my dear sister. Yes, there is a change in the number of reporting countries within the time, because every report has its recommendation, and according to the recommendation, the situation on land must be changed. So we have a change in the number of reporting countries inside the region, and also consultation needs is going to be lesser because of recommendations included in these reports. Next, please. So as you see here, we have many reports which is done by those reports are done by UNESCO according to the convention. And the number of these reports is changed within time. You can see here, it's now reached to be 18 recommendations. Next, please. Yes, we are in a real need to go towards realizing equality of educational opportunities. We need this. According to Article 4 of the Convention, which is done by the UNESCO, we need to make higher education equally facilitated to all people on the basis of individual ability and assuring compliance by all with the obligation to attend school as prescribed by law. So law must protect youth and kids, must protect the right of youth and kids in education according to many conventions, according to many articles included in conventions, like inside the UNESCO convention. Also, it refers to the right in education must be equal. So also these requirements are also central to deliver the education till reaching the agenda of 2030 and ensuring it will be effected and it will be done by inclusion and equity. Next, please. What about inclusion in education? We need to talk about generals. We need to make it general. We need to have national policies. We need to be work in organized manner, not in a random way. So also Article number 4 in the UNESCO Convention mentioned that we need to have policies, and these policies within the time will be instead of being nationally will be international and will be applied or applicable to many countries instead of singing alone. Instead of using our own system, no, we need to we are in a real need for globalization. So we need to include we need to focus on inclusion in education. We need to focus on the right of education, which is very important with regard to both access to education and the way of applying it. So we need to focus on how to make it based on national and international policies. We need to establish many educational laws to protect the right of education to all peoples. Next, please. Yes. We have many frequently reported measures to improve inclusion in education, such as we are in a real need for financial support to youth. We are in a real need also to eliminate barriers to education. No barriers in education. No need to create any barriers in education. Education must be available for all. Must be reachable. We need to adapt curriculum, methods, education. We need also to focus on valuing diversity in schools. We need also to focus on teaching human rights, very important. Teaching ethics, appreciation of others, respect, adoption, revision of laws and practices. It's not only by laws. It's not only by conventions. It must be done by awareness and ethics. As I mentioned before in the cybersecurity crimes conference, I said it's an issue of awareness. It's an issue of ethics. Both containing a lot, but ethics is very important. We need to apply ethics. We need to do awareness. We need to focus on awareness. We need to make our students aware by issue of ethics, how to respect others, how to appreciate others, how to accept all people as it is. Because no one has the right of detecting people is allowed or not allowed to do anything. So education is like as in anything, it's a right. It's a human right. So we need to teach human rights. Okay, next please. Also, we have many classes like immigrants and refugees. For example, in my country and in my university, especially, as you know, I am from Al-Azhar University. We have many international citizens. We have many international people are coming to educate from us. They are coming to our university. So we must appreciate others. We must appreciate that some of them are immigrants. Some of them has problems in their countries. So we must appreciate, we must support. We must make science available and easy to all of them. So no differentiation between our Egyptian students and students coming from abroad. We must not differentiate. Next, please. Yes, we have also students with special needs, with some disabilities. We need to encourage them. We need to empower them. We need to give them more power, more than any other students. We need to support them. We need to give them positive charge. We need to be positive with them. We need to encourage them to be better, to overcome their disabilities. We need to appreciate their disabilities. We need to give them opportunities in working, because opportunities in working after graduation will encourage more and more to be engaged in education at early stages. For example, innovation can support in this issue. For example, I have some of my students, I encourage them to invent, for example, a keyboard. This keyboard is supplied by the Braille language. As you know, blind people are using Braille language. So my student invented a keyboard for the mobile and the laptops, which is supplied by Braille letters, which is written by the Braille method. So we need to support them by innovation, by anything, all things. We need to support students with special needs. Next, please. Children from poor households also. Science or getting the science must be not correlated with money. If I have enough money, I can get knowledge and I can get science and I'll be educated. If I don't have money, so no way. It's a crime. I'm talking about a crime. It's a crime. Starvation from food must not followed by starvation from education. If you are talking about SDG, we are talking about no poverty, also quality of education. So childhood must be protected from being hunger, from being non-educated. Next, please. Gender equality. Also, we are going to talk about women empowerment. I am in a girls branch, so we are focusing on women empowerment. It's very important also. No discrimination at all. Next, please. Yes. According to UNESCO, there is a coverage of gender issues in different countries. Many reports are done discussing these issues, and also many recommendations. And as I said before, it's an issue of awareness. It's an issue of ethics, because the woman, not only the half of the society, the woman is the mother and is the daughter, is the sister. So without mother, how can we come? So we must appreciate women and we must empower her. Next, please. Inclusive education resource guide, we need to focus on ensuring inclusion and equity in education. Inclusive education refers to a process of strengthening the capacity of all general education system to reach out to all learners, increasing access and ensuring learning and achievement for all students is critical to developing human capital and the economic growth. Inclusive education has been a universally acknowledged goal for over 2 decades. It's very important. We need to correlate it by SD goals, as I said before. Next, please. So we are talking about UDL. I think Dr. Sonil referred to this. UDL, it's a universal design for learning. We need to remind ourselves about the importance of good pedagogical practices, differentiation, and flexibility in curriculum and assessment. It also focused on the importance of adequate human resources and reasonable accommodations at school and also at colleges and any educational institutes to meet a variety of learning needs. UDL also is an approach. This approach is acknowledged that in a group of learners, all are different, not all are equal, but we are different in needs. So learners can understand the process and express things in different ways. I'm talking, for example, inside my college, I'm talking to my students. I'm saying I'm not only with the successful people. I need to encourage my students to be to achieve the excellence. I'm not responsible only on students with high IQ, clever students, and so on. No, we need to raise the level of our students. Not all students are at the same level or the same degree of intelligence. Some of them are intelligent, others maybe less than them. So we need to be highly qualified to raise the level of all of them. It is important that a multitude of methods, It is important that a multitude of methods are used in teaching and learning to support all learners in accessible learning environments. It's very important to focus on this item. Next. Yes, next, my dear sister, please. Yes. We have many millions at different stages of growth and different ages. We need to give all students the right of educating, and we need to have, as I said before, we need to have national policy in education. Within time, it will be international policies. It must be applicable. And also, we need to reach to the level of equality. We need to talk about general education systems. We need to talk about how to overcome crisis. As you know, not only COVID, we have many crises before and after. So we need to overcome crisis by education and by science and by innovation. Next, please. Inclusion, yes, is a central feature in the World Banks. So World Bank also focused on inclusion of education and also on how to achieve sustainable development goals, SDG, please. Next. Next, my dear sister. Yes. As you know, number 5 is the quality of education. I think, however, it's number 5, but it has its effect on all goals. All goals are affected by the quality of education. Next, please. So we need to focus on how to improve scientific knowledge and research skills of students and educators, because when we talked about how to overcome any crisis or any problem, we need to talk about how to improve the skills of educators. So I need to pass through this point in a very fast way because I think I exceed my time. Next, please. Yes, we are talking about professional development skills for modern educator. Next, please. We need to transfer that science is not only a job, it's a message. So we are as messengers. So we must do it seriously with all love and appreciation. We must improve ourselves to be able to improve our students to overcome disabilities, overcome any crisis, any problems, to improve our students to be leaders of the present, not leaders of the future. Next, please. So when we are talking about education, it's not only lesson and study and so on. We need to talk about knowledge, experience, and skills. How to improve skills. Next, please. How to improve skills by growing our abilities, increasing our experience, and increasing our competency and our learning ability and our knowledge. Next, please. So we are talking about professional development of the educator. We need to talk about monitoring, learning, consultation, and improvement and reflection. Next, please. We need to be in continuous professional development. Continuous professional development. Next. We need also to do career development for all our educators, like self-assessment, career awareness, goal setting, skill training, and we need to increase their performance. Next, please. So we are talking about active learning, focusing on content knowledge, collective participation, duration of time, and also we need to focus on coherence. These are core features of effective professional development. Next. So we have educators, we have colleagues, we have curriculum, we have our students. So we must appreciate all these points. All of us are serving students. So students in the core of the educational process. Next, please. So we need to focus also on curriculum development. As I said before, it's not an issue of money, it's an issue of mind. It's an issue of our brains. It's an issue of innovation, innovative ideas, and so on. So we are talking about language arts, visual arts, math, and the social studies and science. We need to focus on the same. The curriculum must be broad and balanced, must be creative, must has great impact to students and so on. Next, please. So we must have a vision in preparing our curriculum. We need to focus also on self-development of the educator. Next. And also we need to focus on training and development. Next. So professional development training of educator, we are talking about coaching, teaching, knowledge development, increasing experience, improving skills of educators, and so on. So we are talking about professional development of training of educators. Next, please. Also, we need to focus on soft skills of and the training of educators. Next. I need to show some personal experience. I need to go fast in this issue. I tried to do simplification of science. Next, my dear sister. You can run these slides. You can run them. Yes, I'll talk during running them. You can run them and I'll talk, okay? So I'll show some books related to simplification of science, and also some of them are related to basics of scientific research, and I try to simplify science and make it available to students. This curriculum, I give it to my students for free because I have I believe I am one of the people who are those are a believer in science can't be purchased. Science has no value but has great value. It can't be calculated by currency. So because science itself is a currency, gaining a science is very important as gaining money. Next, please. My books are related to active learning and education, active learning and education of sciences, related to different sciences, advanced sciences like biotechnology, phytochemistry, and so on. I'm trying to make the science very easy and available and reachable to my students. Next, my dear sister, you can run away with these books just to look. No need to stop on each slide. You can run away with them. Yes. I talked with them about diet and innovation. I talked with them about generalization of science. I talked with them about alphabets of a scientific paper. I try to make scientific research is very easy, and I try to learn them and educate them how to prepare a paper, how to be scientific diplomacy, and so on. I try to learn them basics of scientific diplomacy, participation of students in international meetings, simplification of science. I discussed in my books related topics related to nanotechnology and biotechnology, but in a very simple way. You can see here I'm establishing hundreds workshops and training programs. However, we are talking about women empowerment, but they are mixed, not only women, because we can't divide the society. It's a family. How can we divide the family? So here is my students are celebrating our success. Here, yes, I need to stop. Yes, no, the next one, please. I need to stop here because we are talking about kids. Here, as you can see, students beside teacher, beside educators. So they are interacting with me. However, I am talking about how to write a scientific paper. You can see them as very little and very small, but I try to engage them in this issue. I try to simplify basics of scientific research to these young minds. It's very important. It's very important to engage our students, our kids, in the issue of scientific writing, science and diplomacy, and such critical issues, because we are in a real need to them. Thank you. Thank you. I'm reading comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much for Iman ma'am for giving this comprehensive presentation. The kind of work you have given, though you are from a science background, but you have written so many books. And talking about the presentation, you have talked about inclusive education. You have talked about how it has came into light. Then I think lifelong learning should be and must be a very important role in moving towards a knowledge-based society. So we need to create more knowledge economy in comparison to others. You talk about that educator should be updated with the present age. Talk about the UDL, which Sonal ma'am also talked about. So continuous professional development or the skill program, you should have a particular goal. We should focus more on the content and self-development training. These are a part of educator, and as we know that educator are because of students only. So students is at the core of our thing. So we need to keep in mind whatever strategy we are following, we need to be focused according to our students. And students are not same at every level. There are different students in one class also. We will find different students. So we need to have those strategies. We need to apply those tools and which is applicable, which is more easily understandable to our students. Then you talk about that inclusive education to be a part of the curriculum. We need to give them the financial support. The students who are from the lower class category, we need to, they should be, that curriculum is as such that they are easily adaptable. You talk about teaching them the human resource, teaching and the empathy. You talk about the diversity. So the we need to support students in all the way. We need to strengthen them more and more. So more capacity building programs should be organized for them. Thank you so much, Dr. Imam, for this wonderful presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You can move ahead with the third speaker, ma'am.
Yes, thank you.
Shall I just say a few words for Imam?
Ma'am.
Yeah, you have, as they say that educators open the eyes, heart and soul to the world of learning. So you have actually opened the eyes and the windows to the world of learning, and that is what is called as equitable and inclusive learning, not just restricted to NEP 20. Beyond NEP 20, you have opened the wonderful, you can say a silver lining in the clouds. That is inclusive of each and every aspect of learning, and your achievements show that, your experiences show that. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Awesome.
Thank you, my dear sister. Also, I saw your presentation as the amazing, awesome lecture. Same from my side. Thanks a lot. And I'm very happy to be for the first time at NAB. However, I'm not new. But allow me, please, to move to the next speaker. She is Dr. Lakshmi. Allow me, please, to introduce
Lakshmi
her.
Ajoy. Lakshmi Ajoy.
Okay.
Warm welcome to Lakshmi, ma'am. Lakshmi Ajoy, ma'am.
Yes,
please
I'm here.
Lakshmi Ajoy, ma'am. Okay. So I need to talk about her educational qualifications. She has BA, BSc, Hospitality Management, MA, History, and BEd. She has also additional qualifications. She is certified from Tarot Card Reader, and she is certified past life regression therapist. Currently pursuing certificate flower remedies course also. So Lakshmi Ajoy, ma'am, is an entrepreneur and holistic spiritual healer residing in Mumbai. I love Mumbai, as you know.
Yes,
yes, most welcome. It's my first visit to India. So most welcome.
Whenever you're here in India.
Yes, I'm still in India. She is from Mumbai. She has two super creative daughters, mashallah, and she and merchant Navy husband, mashallah. She considers herself a student for life. I'm as you, and believes in the policy that what is learned is only a festival of what is yet to be learned in the future. Excellent. Excellent. Appreciate. She enjoys traveling with family and solo too. MashaAllah. I'm trying to choose to save time, but we are talking about a great personality. She regularly contributes to writing platforms like Asian Literary Society, and also she is writing poets and the passion of pottery, mashallah, and she is a member of Metamorphosis and Soulcraft and many more. Let's say most welcome. And namaste, we have a great lady, so appreciation from my side. And let's start. We are very proud to have you, and we need to hear from your side.
For this
Let's say
wonderful
welcome
welcome.
our next
Yes.
great speaker. Namaste.
Thank you
Most
so
welcome.
much, ma'am. Yeah, thank you so much, dear Dr. Iman and Sonal ma'am, for this wonderful opportunity this evening here in India. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or whatever time it is for you at the different parts of the world. It's a great honor to be here present today speaking about equitable and inclusive education. Without any further delay, let us begin with the screen share presentation for this evening. Are you all able to see the screen?
Yes, yes,
Yes, ma'am.
yes.
All right. So here we are to talk about equitable and inclusive education. Now, we will first focus on what exactly is equitable education. When we talk of equitable education, we are basically focusing on students where they are treated equally by giving teachers of equivalent levels of expertise, having equivalent school facilities, and having identical levels of government funding allocated to their education. So we're not talking just about the facilities there at school, but also the funds that reach them, whether it is a rural area or an urban area, irrespective of which location they are in or where they are placed. Everything has to be in an equal status, and that exactly is equitable education or schooling. And it is not just limited to male students, but much beyond to the others, which will be considered in the other slide. The National Education Policy of 2020 envisages equitable education or good inclusive education for all, with special focus on children and youth, especially girls, and those from social and economically disadvantaged groups. We will see, or we have observed, that despite the efforts to educate women, there has been a great dropout rate for girls, particularly in the higher and the secondary higher education. Once the girls enroll themselves, we generally see that they drop off eventually. The enrollment rate also dips at the secondary and higher secondary level. One of the main reasons why this could happen is because of the onset of menstruation in girls. Then there is a lack of availability of hygienic toilets in many places, because of which girls and children, little girls find it very difficult to accommodate themselves and attend to nature's call, and that makes or brings about a great discomfort, eventually leading them to drop out of school. Then there are people with from the rural settings and those with conservative mindsets, having certain socio-cultural backgrounds, not preventing the girl children or any other children from backward economy or socially economic disadvantaged group to prevent them from taking higher or gaining higher education. So, what exactly is the NEP doing, or the National Education Policy is intending to meet these challenges through the gender inclusion funds. So, they're gathering funds towards improving this condition, and their plan is to use this fund to provide quality education to all the students, and also ensure that they are given equal facilities throughout. That's the plan. Also ensure that they give secure and hygienic toilets, bring about an education and awareness about menstruation, maintaining hygiene, giving them education, talking about how to maintain personal hygiene, how to manage oneself once they at the onset of menstruation in girls, talking about hormonal changes in the bodies, including that as part of mainstream education, talking about or providing sanitary facilities in case of emergencies, like sanitary napkins or some kind of heat pads or a place to rest where girls can, children can just go about if they are unwell. So such kind of facilities also needs to be provided if they are to bring about the gender inclusion funds and bring about equitable education among children. Another very important point talks about hostel facilities for girls. In case to provide them a safe environment also, in case students have to travel really long distances to reach school, then the education system has to be able to provide hostel facilities wherein children can reside for over a period of time and then visit back home only during the weekends or whenever it is convenient. but also it is important to ensure that they have a safe environment when they reach there. Now, when we talk of female students are disadvantaged in many additional ways, and they also, if you look at it, that females form at least half of each of the socio-economic disadvantaged groups, which includes the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes, or the other backward classes, the minorities. Sometimes the transgenders, of course, they also have female-like patterns, and their inclusion in the mainstream education is also important because they, until recent times, they have not really been included as part of the regular society, and they have been sidelined majorly. However, with the inclusion of the new policy and with the change in reforms, with the ideologies and the patterns, mentality of the people changing, transgenders are also now looked upon as part of our society, which is a very good move in a positive direction. And of course, there are the nomadic tribes. And if you see that females or girl children students form at least 50% of most of these socially disadvantaged groups. That includes the SC, ST, OBC, and nomadic tribes, minorities, etc. So, what exactly should we look forward to? If the government or any kind of education policy is looking forward to providing equitable education, then there has to be a stop in gender stereotyping, where there is teasing or the girls being looked down upon, or those girls that are being forced to, work as laborers or child marriage, those kind of things. That comes under the customs and beliefs perpetuated, where rural villages do not encourage the education of women. There are those child marriages which take place where women are just married off at a very early age. Young girls of 8 and 9 are married off, and eventually it causes death and many other issues. Those things also has to be taken care of, and the government has to reach every nook and corner of rural and urban areas alike, to different areas, and ensure that whatever plans and policies they have laid has to reach out to every place so that people can follow the right practices. Then there are those unequal treatment meted out to girls, including their education. They feel that, if there is a male child, he is the, he'll carry forward the family tradition or the progeny, and importance is given to the male child, and they feel that girls will eventually get married off and their education is not as important, and they are made to do household work, or child labor is involved without the payment of labor. So all this kind of atrocities occur. It is hoped that these issues specific to girl students and other marginalized genders do not get diluted. That is the most important thing, that we should not we should ensure that in the process of implementing these the socioeconomic disadvantaged groups into the mainstream education, somewhere it should not get marginalized, it should not get diluted, and things should not be overlooked or missed out at. So NEP 2020 aims to address issues of gender equalities amidst recruitment. So even specific to recruitments, if there is an encouragement to educate the women children or girl children, it is also important to recruit women teachers in rural area, because women can give more empathy, more consideration, or more care and love. Their approach towards handling children is much more acceptable, particularly at a lower age group. So it is also important to provide the girl children who are getting educated in the rural areas to be given employment opportunities, and that is why recruitment of women teachers should be encouraged in rural areas. Apart from that, merit and qualifications are to be taken into consideration, and not just under the table transactions or nepotism or things like that. So basically the merits and qualification of every teacher has to be considered before they are recruited onto a particular job. And it is most important to provide the teachers with quality training for them to be able to give quality education in return. So unless the teachers are trained well, they cannot impart quality education. Another very important thing to note here is that teachers and facilitators from Anganwadis or small time schools or in rural areas need to undergo training session to counsel the families as well. Because what happens is, when a girl child is educated, or when a child in a rural or illiterate background or uneducated family background becomes educated, there develops a significant gap between the educated child and the uneducated family. This is where the teachers and the counselors or the workers need to come into picture. We have to bridge that gap that acts as coming between the educated girl child and their families, address the issues so that there are no further dropouts from the schools. Then comes the skill enhancement courses for girls. Particularly, I can give you just a very small example, like in villages, particularly if that village is leaning towards, say, weaving or artisan or pottery or embroidery, then the schools in that particular setup should include those professions or those skills in their mainstream education to promote and attract those girl children to come to these education system and gain them. Through this, there is also this hope of the traditional families accepting the fact that yes, because such kind of facilities are also provided in the school, which otherwise the girl has to drop out of school and sit at home to learn. If schools can provide these additional systems along with their education, they can also learn the skills which can later on become an added advantage, and they can supervise a group of artisans, and they can take this to a larger scale, maybe promote and market these items out to the cities, talk about imports and exports and many other things that can improve the economic system of the rural areas as well. Then the policy also lays emphasis on gender sensitization. Now, when we're talking about gender sensitization, it is important to inculcate sex education and menstrual health and hygiene as part of the regular mainstreaming school in a very subtle way. Do not talk about sex as a taboo subject. Do not talk about hormonal changes or menstrual health as a taboo subject, but include it as part of the mainstream education for both the men and the women, the boys and the girls, to let them know and understand the bodily developments, the hormonal changes, the different changes and the challenges which a child will undergo at that particular age, so that they begin to accept each other in a very graceful manner. Another very important thing is compulsory education on legal literacy. Every girl student must be aware of their own or her own legal rights when it comes to sexual abuse within families, or when it comes to distributing of wealth distribution amongst the siblings, and many other things wherein there are family issues or whatever. The girl must be aware of the right age at which she must get married, or every other thing that's legal in nature. The child or the girl child must be made aware. Not just the girl child, every child must be made aware so that they can then carry forward this tradition to the next generation. The framers of curriculum must ensure that these essential domains are properly factored and easily blended into the curriculum system, and not just taken as a cosmetic value or as a token when it's just sidelined. So it has to be included in a very subtle and gracious way as part of the mainstream education. Furthermore, it is also important for schools to focus on female health, about the nutrition, about the malnourishment that is particularly occurring in girls because of excessive blood loss, or despite the introduction of breakfast and midday meals which are initiated by the government these days, which are really great, there is still a lot of lack of awareness and malnourishment as seen in the girls, for which other additional facilities like medical checkups for the girls at regular intervals, or for all students for that matter, can be done at regular intervals. Supplementary nutrition can be provided to the girls at nominable or reasonable cost. Then there can be distribution of health bars that can generally raise the overall energy levels or the health levels of the children. These kind of small steps can be taken into consideration. Even for higher education, one must not limit the education or the equitable education to just the school and the secondary school level, but we must also, very briefly, I'm touching upon the subject where they have to focus on the higher education system, for which quality education has to be made possible, with special emphasis on all the socioeconomically challenged group of children. So there are certain facets of exclusion which are particular to when these children from the rural background, or those who do not have enough financial support or knowledge, or illiterate parents, they have the lack of knowledge for where they can undertake higher education opportunities. So such kind of knowledge or information has to be well provided to the children. The economic opportunity costs for pursuing higher education. What could be the possible cost if the government can provide any subsidies or help them getting admission at with scholarships and so on has to be looked upon. The financial constraints of the family has to be overcome by collecting funds from NGOs or sponsorships or sponsors who can look forward and educate those children who are keenly looking forward to get themselves educated. Help them with the admission processes, because many a times the parents are not aware because they are not educated themselves with the admission process. So there has to be an extension counter or helpers who can help them with the admission process. We can go beyond the geographical and the language barriers, where education to the children can be provided in vernacular languages. Geographical locations, if that is a barrier, then online educations or distance education programs which are being introduced has to be majorly encouraged. Then we also must be able to provide them with the employability potential based on the higher education programs that these children are pursuing. And finally, enough student support mechanism has to be provided so there isn't any lack of or dearth of any kind of facilities that are provided for the children. Now coming to inclusive education, we have spoken about equitable education. We will now talk about inclusive education. Inclusive education is where all the students, regardless of any challenges, are placed in age-appropriate general education classes, where they are supported to meet the success in the core curriculum. Inclusive education is a teaching model whereby all students, regardless of their ability, learn together in one single environment. The aim of an inclusive education is to ensure all the students are treated fairly, they get equal opportunities. With inclusive education environment, student diversity and uniqueness should be celebrated without discrimination. However, there is still a large instance of children being treated differently because based on their unique abilities. It is not because of the students' inabilities, but it is because of the teachers' inability or lack of knowledge or training, or the teachers being unable to segregate the learning capabilities or what they need to look out for when it comes to the talents in children. That is what is lacking, which needs to be focused upon. Some of the other issues on which the students are discriminated are disability, race, gender, household income, language they speak, etc. Studies have shown the number of students with learning disabilities are gradually increasing over a period of time. So eventually, we all need to be able to accommodate these students, give them equal access, and they should all have the right to equal education. Types of inclusive education, all the different types of individual needs can be now divided into full inclusion, where in a full inclusion system, the teaching model is where the differently able children are also included as part of the mainstream education. If they find that the pressure on the children is too much, then they can then shift the child into a partial inclusion plan. Otherwise, if the child is able to cope up, please include them in a full inclusion education, inclusive education system. The partial inclusion system is where the children are still part of the main school education or the mainstream education along with all the other children for support. And apart from this, whichever area or a particular skill the child is lacking in, that is where special educators or teachers are given special training to these children so that they can receive additional support from the special education teachers. So they take speech-based lessons or hearing lessons or aid lessons or some kind of extra classes, visual aids which can be provided, which can give better inputs or knowledge to the child who is otherwise lacking this information. Otherwise, there is also this possibility of mainstreaming, where the differently able children are separately kept in self-contained classroom. They are trained there till they reach the level of the regular students. And once they reach that level, they become a part of the regular mainstream school. But all of these are included in the main education system or the institution itself, and not as a separate school for the differently able children. The key features of the inclusive education and learning is all students have the right to education. The classrooms must be made up of students with mixed abilities. No child should be separated from main groups based on discrimination. Appropriate activities should be planned based on the students' personal needs taken into consideration. Create an accessible environment like wheelchair ramps, visual alternators, lesson contents for students with hearing impairments, etc. Support should be provided to all the students to assist and allow them to reach their full potential. What makes inclusive education so important? It makes a student confidence, traditional methods, building developments, small groups, lowers the it increases the self-esteem. It helps to improve the self-confidence within them. And they interact and mingle with other students from the same group. They are able to gain more confidence. There is a positive peer interaction. And after this, the main instances or additional support can be provided, after which partial inclusion can then be eventually moved on to full inclusion. Then comes the improved communication skill within the children, those with limited abilities, or the inclusive education system where children are challenged. If they improve with the students from the mainstream education, they can gain more exposure. They will be able to communicate more confidently. Their self-esteem will increase. They will have a wider audience to interact with, and a range of students. Their communication skills and their interpretation skills and their social skills will eventually develop, and they will very soon be made career ready, because when they interact with the other children, their own skills will also improve and come up, shine through. The quality of education, by looking at the classroom environment, or whatever the teachers teaching styles. If they have separate classrooms, and their lessons can vary from the mainstream classroom. That is why they have to be included, because their level of education and the quality of information that they will receive, apart from the additional training wherever is necessary, will make them a much better quality student. So how can you improve or implement inclusive education in the classroom? Let us look at some of the ways. Cooperative learning, by learning in groups, group activities and games, arranging group works, designating fair groups rather than giving the children to pick up their own groups. Teacher has to allocate them, giving the students a chance to be part of something at every given point of time so that they can develop their own social skills. Group learning benefits the disabilities or the behavioral differences and encourages students to work alongside a range of different people. Specialized training for teachers also is necessary, because only with the teacher training modules, and when they learn their own skills, they can then be able to impart them to the children alike. Then adapted tasks and lessons, different curriculums or approach or text. Apart from text-based learning, they can also be videos, pictures, recorded lessons, specific student needed material, and making them participate in different activities, role play, and different other approaches can be taken in. Supplementary materials can be provided, some kind of games or worksheets or anything like science models or anything like calculators that can 3D models that can help the students develop better. Language barriers like picture and flashcards, reteaching the topics, recording the topics and making them available for the students. My final thoughts on this particular topic is the implement of equitable and inclusive education is vital for the development of students. And by implementing these techniques, one can nurture confidence that the students can give equal opportunities to learn regardless of their ability level. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Enlightening. I mean, I don't know what to say. Enlightening, enriching, plus you have covered all the aspects of the health issues, the sensitizing issues, the sanitizing issues, and implementation of learning strategies, then low economic strata challenges. I mean, multiple in this 30 minutes of, you can say, total enveloping of all the hidden, the small knickknacks that is not there in the NEP policy, because NEP policy is just going to say equitable and inclusive education. Are we delving deeper into it? What it is? No, we have to dive deeper into it and trace, because we all have actually gone down, swam our way, picked up the gems and shown to the world that this is what is equitable and inclusive education. So I take my gratitude to you for this wonderful, enriching session. Thank you, Lakshmi, so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity and so much time. I just tried to cover up whatever I could in the limited time span I had. And let me then introduce our wonderful speaker for the evening, our next speaker, Mr. Mohammed Zubair, who is an assistant professor of special education and learning disability in the Faculty of Education from the Jamia Millia Islamia University, which is from New Delhi in India. He is a global keynote speaker, an educationist, a motivational speaker. He's extremely versatile, dedicated, and a professionally competent professional and a certified practitioner from the Rehabilitation Council of India. He has vast experience in identification of students with special needs, assessment, and evolving appropriate remedial measures. His areas of proficiency include learning disability, multidisciplinary education plans, technology integration, team teaching approach, curriculum development, individualized educational plans, and so much more. He is having 10 plus years of experience in the field of education in different positions by serving various organizations. He has presented many articles in the national and international conferences. He has published several books and chapters in the field of education. He has participated in more than 350 international conferences. And as a keynote speaker, also attended for more than 500 seminars, workshops, and in-service trainings. He's a member of many international and national organizations and publications. He's editor of international journals, and he has also won many national and international prizes and accolades bestowed upon by different organizations. It is a pleasure to welcome you, sir, to this prestigious event. You may now take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakshmi Ajoy ma'am, for such a nice introduction. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the IDYM Foundation and the organizers. This program is amazing. I was listening to all of you, and Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you around the globe. And this is very interesting, topic because we all are living in the society, and where it is important to acknowledge that each child is unique in terms of physical ability or the mental capacity, and has a professional learning style. So each human being, responds to his or her experience and environment in her own, individual way. So diversity is in the society, and when we talk about the inclusion, so diversity is there in the classroom as well. So diversity refers to the range of of human differences, including differences in race, ethnicity, gender, and gender identity, and sexual orientation, age, and social class, and physical ability or attributes, and ethical values, and nationality, and political beliefs, and disabilities, and all. And as a system, when we talk about the NEP 2020, lays great emphasis on promoting, on inclusive education as well, because we all are living in a society where, we have to give each and every child need-based education. Need-based education is important, and 2020 NEP aims to ensure that no child loses any opportunity to learn and excel because of the circumstances of birth or background. So special emphasis will be given on socially and economically and disadvantaged group, like social tribes, and minorities, and the children with special needs, orphans, and transgenders, and geographical identities such as students from villages, small towns, and aspirational districts, disabilities including all the in India, in RPWD Act 21 disabilities are mentioned there. So when we talk about the inclusive education, we have to give the education in the same setup. All students learn together, and teachers collaborate, get support, and focus on abilities rather than limitations. We have to focus on the abilities of the students and abilities. We have to identify their skills before the teaching, and during the teaching, and after teaching, and we have to give them need-based education. And teachers get regular training. We have to give them regular training to develop skills for inclusive classrooms, because multidisciplinary approach is important. In each and every school, we have to recruit the teachers, not only general teachers, but special educators, guidance and counselors, occupational therapists, physiotherapists, and and we have to provide them equal opportunities to each and every individual. We have to make them independent in the society, and cater to individuals' learning styles, because each learner is different, and we have, as a teacher, or as a as educationists, we have to identify the limitations of the students, and we have to give them the need-based education, honor the needs of all students equitably. So value alternative thoughts and perspectives, and celebrate diversity and individuality in the society. We have to celebrate and nurture shared respect and empathy in the society. That is the important thing in the inclusion, because inclusive education is an umbrella term, and that encompasses considerations and strategies to support the diversity of learner in a given context by minimizing barriers like attitudinal barriers, or we can talk about the physical barriers, as this may impact an individual's ability to achieve her or his full potential. So inclusive educational setup, refers, to equitable and non-discriminatory arrangement where each child is valued, each child, will be considered by the teacher or by the education system, accepted and respected, and every child gets equal opportunities of participation in the general setup, in all those activities that suits her capability, and school conducts co-curricular activities necessary for developmental needs of students as per their interest. Inclusive setup helps in building a community, nurturing and comforting environment where each child can acquire academic and social skills with a positive attitude in the society. And all teachers should be given the opportunity, or teachers of students. Equitable doesn't mean the equal. It refers to compensation by giving more to those who have less, to equalize opportunities and redress disadvantage. And the Right of Person with Disability Act, RPWD Act 2016, defines inclusive education by emphasizing on the condition that all students, except severe cases, should learn together in the same setup, and teaching there should be appropriately adapted to meet the needs of the learners in the setup. And lots of myths are there in the society. Segregation is better. Sometimes it may be better because some students are mild, moderate, and severe. In the severe cases, we have to segregate and we have to give them education in the special setup. But in the general manner, inclusion is the best educational program, since it allows individuals to develop as per their abilities, and it also inculcates values like caring and sharing, because in the setup, all the diversity is there, and we are increasing their abilities. And inclusion is an expensive option. Some people say it's an expensive option. It is an affordable way to provide the most equitable solution to all the learners in the same setup. And some people say inclusive education is just another fad, but it is a concrete way of understanding the individual differences and reaching out of them. Each and every child is different in their abilities, when we talk about their intelligence, when we talk about their morality, emotional aspects, or the social interaction. So inclusion, some people say inclusion is difficult in regular school, but in my opinion, it is practiced in regular schools by modification of the learning strategies and ways of delivering them. And people with disabilities or the limitations are an unfortunate drain in the society. Some people say like that. But in my opinion, each and every child is gift of God, and they have their own potential. Everybody wants to be a doctor or engineer. Some people can sing a song. Some people can perform in sports. So as a teacher, we have to identify their aptitude and their abilities, and they contribute substantially to the society by excelling in their areas. So under the system, all children get an equal opportunity to live, learn, and play together, thereby enhancing their talent and personalities. Inclusive education eliminates all form of discrimination in the learning environment. Inclusive education gives access to all and promotes best outcomes for all. So there are different terms related to inclusion, but inclusive education, benefits all by developing a sense of belonging or respecting people of different culture, and accepting individual differences. Because when we talk about the inclusion in the society, lots of barriers are there. Lots of barriers are there. For example, when we talk about uh, infrastructural barriers are there, if we or the attitudinal barrier. Attitude is the problem. Learning barriers, building school communities, developing school clusters, and the participation is, the problem in the society is, when we talk about the acceptance in the society. We have to accept each and every child. Acceptance is the problem in the society. If somebody have some problems and limitations, their parents says that they don't accept. For example, a child has learning disabilities, dyslexia or dyscalculia, they don't accept. We have to accept, and family and society should accept all those things. Acceptability is the important aspect. And then second thing is access. We have to provide the access to each and every individual. We have to make good schools, special schools, or the inclusive schools. We have to improve the infrastructure. We have to make a barrier-free environment for them. And we have to sensitize and awareness in the society. We have to sensitize and aware the society about the inclusive education, about the kids. And we have to make each and every child independent, provide equal opportunities, and provide need-based education. And we have to use lots of adaptations and modifications and accommodations in the teaching learning process. And curriculum adaptation is the important aspect. And when we talk about barrier-free, access refers to universal access for all children and adults within the schools. And this should not be limited only to the buildings and physical infrastructure, but also extend itself to in curriculum transaction, in teaching learning process and teaching. And this is particularly, relevant. And in context of children, they have variety of learning needs, which is required in the society. For example, access in inclusive setup. General student is there, special kids, children with special needs is there, girls are there, tribes are there, minorities there, and orphans are there, transgenders are there. So firstly, we have to remove the barriers, the physical environment. For example, the path from the gate of the school buildings and playground must be clear and labeled. All entrances and doorways in the school buildings should be between 4 to 6 feet. The toilet inside in the school must be accessible or adaptive for all. And the drinking water outlets should be accessible to all. Avoid sharp turns in the walkways. Steps should be equal and even heights at stairs. The ends of handrails should be bent downwards to avoid injury. And bright colors, preferably yellow, should be used at every change in slope, at the beginning and the ending of a staircase for easy recognition. So all the surfaces should be non-slip and loose gravel or cobbles. So it means, safety of all children should be ensured by provision of hazard-free environment. Broken window panes, broken steps, broken fixture or furniture. Everything, in the physical environment, we have to improve for good inclusion. In the same manner, we have to remove the barrier in the curriculum as well. The school classroom design should allow the teacher to be able to pay personal attention to each and every child, including effective positioning and placement, keeping in the mind individual needs of every child. And adaptation and accommodations need to be made. Procedures for assessment, use of teaching strategies, including signs and gestures, and use of teaching learning material, innovative aids, everything we have to use in the teaching learning process. And accessibility to teaching learning material within the classrooms must be ensured, and ensured participation of each and every child in all curricular and co-curricular activities, and use of peer support effectively to ensure and increase participation of children, and use enabling technologies like adaptive technology or the assistive technology in the society we can use. Aids and appliances. For example, it is an inclusive school. So many children with special needs are there. So like calipers, wheelchairs, brasses, special chairs, crutches, pencil grips, communication boards should be made available for meaningful inclusion. When we talk about the meaningful inclusion, because it is very challenging. It is very easy to talk about inclusion, but it is very challenging to provide the support, to provide the teachers, to provide the need-based education for students. So ensure adequate space allocation to meet individuals' needs of each and every child in the society. And level of difficulty of both language and content need to be adapted as per the comparison level, comprehension level of the child, and use, ensure that every child is important for a teacher. So ensure increased use of verbal instructions, directions, ensure availability and use availability of teaching aids. And for example, if a VI student is there, visual impairment child is there in the class, so embossed and tactile material we have to give on them. So availability, training and use of aids appliances like braille, table frame, white cans, abacus, low vision aids, magnifiers should be there in the inclusive setup. So ensure availability of accessible teaching learning material like braille, large print scale. For example, if a child is low vision, so we have to give them enlarged print material to him. So, inclusion would be successful when we will give need-based education and training in the, training to our students. So, in the class, some students are auditory learners. They learn reading by listening to someone present information orally and by being allowed to discuss and ask questions. So if child is auditory learner, they can learn by listening, and you are giving them content in the in the textual form. So we as a teacher, we can record that content and record lectures for repeated listening and provide them, because they are the auditory learners. So interactive lectures we can make for them, utilizing sound during lectures, and allow students to engage in small groups conversation during the class for the auditory learners. Some students are visual learners in the class. When they see, they understand well. So they learn by seeing words in printed form, in the form by using graphics, pictures, illustrations, or the PPTs like that in the videos. So so we can provide them many things in the visual form. Use visual when teaching lessons or delivering your lectures, such as picture, charts, diagrams, maps, and demonstrations, and many things you can use in the classroom. Some students are kinesthetic learners. They learn best through the movement and locomotion by their small or gross motor muscles, by the fine motor or the gross motor muscles. They can information best, while moving and doing. So being involved in role playing or peer tutoring or the many other things, the activity based learning we can provide them, and we can use co-curricular activities for their overall development, for their holistic development, because we are talking about 360 degree development. So provide hands-on training in the class every time, and use the outdoors for learning opportunities when possible. Teach concepts through games and projects, and have students answer questions during the teaching learning process. And some students are tactile. When they touch, they learn well. When they touch the things, tactile learners learn through their sense of touch, such as using their hands and fingers. They learn best their writing, drawing, hand, and if they learn by touching, so learns best when physically engaged in hands-on activities. In the classroom, as a teacher benefits from a lab setting where he can manipulate materials to learn. Many laboratories, chemistry lab, or the physics lab, or the biology lab, or the computer lab, and assembling and deassembling of puzzles and games, and provide the exposure. For example, often enjoy working with tools and clays. Many small things we can improve the teaching learning process. The multisensory approach we can use in the class, and repetition drills we can use in the class, and learning by doing, and we can make barrier-free environment in the class, and we can use games, activities, real life examples we can relate from their life We can use worksheets, hands-on training, and different methods according to the need. Peer tutoring, team teaching, cooperative learning, and child-centered methods. Sometimes students need therapies, so counseling. We have to organize counseling sessions for the students and the parents. Physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, intervention plans we have to make, case history, many things we can do in the inclusive setup. And these are the small things we can use in our classes. And as a teacher, it is required in our classes. And when we talk about the inclusive education, the important aspect is that to fulfill, to enable children to stay with their abilities, and education for all. I have talked about protection of rights and identification of the students, at the early stages, identification of the skills, and development of social aspects to prepare new challenges for them, development of brotherhood in the inclusive setup, and to improve the quality of education in the setup. When we go in the class, the diversity is there. Some students are not feeling well. They feel inferiority complex, lack of understanding, adjustment problem in the class, isolation and segregation, or feeling extra burden, insecurity. Sometimes they are introvert in nature. They are not able to express, and negative approaches are there. Shyness is there. Hesitation is there. Lots of things are there. So as the role of teacher or the role of stakeholders is important in the setup. Interaction with family members, and we have to give them the opportunities, organize many activities, and to be able to solve their problem, to develop new learning strategies, and according to the needs. Sometimes demonstration is important, sometimes activities, sometimes a project method, sometimes problem solving method, sometimes different strategies we can use. Previous speakers talked about the UDL, need-based education. So we have to give them we have to identify, as also to be able to recognize their hidden talents, to inculcate positive attitude in the able bodies, and acceptance and respect each and every child, and clarity of responsibility is important. NEP is talking about the inclusive education, but the clarity must be there. Who will be the responsible? Because we need lots of human resource in the school, in the multidisciplinary approach. Many special educators, if we talk about, many general teachers are not aware about the strategies about the children with special needs, about the need-based education. So inclusion is valuable and possible, but school readiness is predetermined set of capabilities, and school readiness is important before the inclusion. And inclusion requires teachers to accept the responsibility for creating schools in which all children can learn and feel free. So develop positive attitude among all, curriculum modifications and adaptations as well. So flexible and alternative approaches to learning and teaching in the class. And for successful inclusion, develop positive attitude towards each and every child. Need of orientation. We can organize orientation programs for teachers, for webinars, for seminars, to aware them about the inclusion, about the strategies, about the special education, about the need-based education. We can give them support, giving essential services to the teachers in the education system. Promote peer tutoring, collaborative learning, promote UDL, and make benefit environment in the setup. The RPWD Act 2016, which came into force from 19 April 2017. The salient features, is our responsibility has been cast upon appropriate governments to take effective measures to ensure that the persons with disabilities enjoy their rights equally with others. So the act covers the 21 disabilities, and still there is a chance it is flexible, we can increase the disabilities as well in the setup. So recognizing, identifying, and fostering the unique capabilities of each student by sensitizing teachers and parents, and respect for diversity and local context in all curriculum, pedagogy and policy, and taking education as a concurrent subject. Full equality and inclusion in all educational decisions to ensure that all students thrive in the education system. This is the requirement of the society. And bridging gaps, bridging gaps in access, participation, and learning outcome of children belonging to tribes or the backward classes or the orphans. So a special mechanism to be introduced to ensure children belonging to tribal communities benefited. So promote education to children belonging to educationally under represented communities, and create enabling mechanism for providing divyangs the same opportunities of obtaining quality education as other childs are getting. So many things. So and the gender inclusion fund to assist female and transgender children in gaining access to education, because females are also facing problems, and gender inclusion fund must be there. And inclusion fund schemes to be developed to address access issues for these kids. And building financial assistance to meritorious students from all from all backgrounds to facilitate their entry into the higher education must be there. And policies and schemes like targeted scholarships and conditional cash transfers to incentive parents to send their children to school to be strengthened. So making a single window system for all. And when we talk about the teacher will be teacher must be play a vital role, because in the inclusive setup, when we talk about each and every child is different. And sometimes a child, for example, I am teaching addition to my student in the class. I am using using concrete objects to define the topic, but they are not getting. So I can change the method. I can use the abacus. I can use the many activities. So as a teacher, we have produced good training institutes. We have produced good training institutes to produce good teachers, because if we will produce good teachers, good institutes, then we can make inclusive classrooms in the meaningful manner in the society. So these are the things which are very important. And NEP recognizes that certain groups are NEP is talking about the gender identities and the socio-cultural identities, or the geographical identities, or the disabilities. So NEP is a great guideline to make our schools inclusive in all manner, because this policy outline the vision of India's new education system. The new policy replaces the previous one, and the policy is comprehensive framework for elementary education. But lots of challenges are there to tackle. And shortly, as a responsible person, the responsibility in the society for each and every person in this have to play a role for meaningful meaningful setup. For example, we have to set the role of a school leader, vision and mission of the school, vision and mission of the stakeholders, schools or the institutes or the SCRTs and CRTs or the government, and cultural climate building, adaptation, accommodation, modifications, and continuous teacher training programs and orientation trainings for them. And barrier-free environment is a challenge. Multimodal assessment, life skills is we have developed life skills. We have to use innovative aids, and we have to use assistive technologies and assistive devices. And pedagogy plan, for example, like UDL or differentiated instructions according to the need, health and physical fitness, because we have to work not only in the academic areas but also in the non-academic areas. We have to make them good citizen of the country. And multimodal assessment is required, and parents as a partner, and networking with the community, because role of the community is important. and create a well-defined, age-appropriate, child-centered, differentiated curriculum at the school level for the differently or the limitations or the differently able learners, such that a lot of emphasizes on self-help skills. Academic goals could be based on how beneficial it would be for the individuals in future life in the practical manner, because the practical aspect is important. Involve all the stakeholders, including professionals, social workers, and organizations and parents in the education for their wards. So it is very important to include the parents at every step of planning, as they are the permanent, or they know their child better. Their priorities, strength, and competencies would determine the success, failure of the plans made for the child. So building a culture for inclusion in the school by adopting changes in curriculum, pedagogy, co-curricular activities, and assessment to the implement, and designing well-structured wellness skill development programs for the teachers. This is the important aspect. And orienting all stakeholders for successful implementation of the inclusion or the inclusive program by organizing capacity building workshops, seminars for sensitizing teachers, students, and parents is must. And designing and implementing inclusive classroom practices and curriculum, and fostering full participation in all school activities, identifying and removing barriers. So increasing awareness and attitudinal change through advocacy, and create competent professionals through trainings to ensure requisite knowledge and skills to work in an inclusive environment, and good partnership between special teachers and the general teachers and the guidance counselors and the physiotherapists or the music teacher, the game teachers can be achieved through combined programs. And community members can be made aware of issues related to inclusive education practices in schools. And vocational education should be there in the schools. Inclusive education must also strive to make the child self-sufficient by developing additional vocational skills for employment or self-employment. So holistic wellness programs, it aims at holistic well-being of students through a structured programs. We can start for prevention, for intervention, and management of students' health issues, a role of young students. Student leaders as peer educators should be encouraged, and role of counselors in inclusive school. Counselor ensure access to appropriate support and intervention to improve achievement of children. Counselor also raises awareness in teachers and staff and the parents and the strategies required to deal with them. And sensitizing teachers. Counselor collaboratively work with other teachers to instill a better understanding of needs of kids by putting for the child point of view and needs, and helping teachers develop more effective support services for the child. So parents as a partner is important. I have mentioned overcoming hesitation. Parents can provide critical information about their children, whether it was a cesarean or the normal delivery, whether child has achieved their milestones, everything they knows about their child. So a special educator providing appropriate information to the teachers in advance to assist them in effective lesson planning, execution, and assessment. So teacher play a vital role in the inclusive classroom, and parents play a vital role, counselors play a vital role. It is a multidisciplinary approach, and early identification and recognition of the signs that put students at risk for disabilities or the limitations, and understanding normal development milestones help in prompt intervention to support children and their families so that issues are tackled before they become more serious problems. So early identification at the early stages is important. And in the classroom, sometimes students have behavioral issues, sometimes they have academic issues, sometimes they have emotional issues. So screening is the important aspect in the class. Observation of behavior by the teacher, by the counselor on the long term, and assessment by the experts or the professionals is required in their classroom to give them need-based education, because if we are assessing them properly, then we are able to give them need-based education. So understand that the emotions exhibited by the parents of children with disabilities or children with limitations regarding their children are complex and varied. So think of parents as partners. These are the things you can do in the classroom for inclusive education, or as a teacher. We have performed duties, and as a stakeholders, each and every citizen has to perform in the inclusive setup for the meaningful inclusion in the society. Thank you.
I think, sir, you please have a glass of water first. Please have a glass of water, sir, plus. You've been speaking non-stop for half an hour. Please have a glass of water. I think you have actually, like a honeybee, sucked the nectar from the flower to make a honeycomb. Slowly picking the small nuances of everything. It's an effortless job. And hats off to you for tracing out all the essential deficiency nutrients in a diet of education. So wonderful to listen to you, and please have a hot cup of tea before you go to sleep.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Actually, this is my area. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank
Please
you.
introduce Pushpendra, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so I have to introduce. Okay, so welcome. One second. Welcome. I welcome Pushpender Kumar Rana, sir. I welcome you on behalf of IDYM Foundation, and he is principal and of Mata Jaswant Kaur Memorial School, Badal, Punjab, and he is a great academician and international education awardee as well, and he is also a CBSE master trainer and resource person, and he also he's also working in the NCRT as subject matter expert and school innovation ambassador. So a number of articles published in renowned magazines by him, such as Brainfeed and Innovative Edu Leader, and he has great experience, more than 25 years in the field of education. And stage is your, sir. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Zubair sir, Sonal ma'am, Aman ma'am, and Lakshmi ma'am. All have explained very well what is inclusive education and equitable education. So my work here has become easy, so I will take very less time now because most of the aspects have been covered. So just let me share the screen. My screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. So first of all, as most of the aspect has been covered by Zubair sir, Lakshmi ma'am, Aman ma'am, and Sonal ma'am. So what is inclusive and equitable education? In Hindi, there is a proverb for polio. एक छूटा सुरक्षा चक्र टूटा. So that is the same about education. A single child should not be left without education. Whatever the creed, caste, color, or background, whether they are disabled, physically disabled, mental disabled, whatever they are. Here, as what the government has planned in NEP, all have been discussed here. So I would focus on the practical aspects, whether in theory there are many things which should be done. But yesterday I was watching a news about Haryana, and when I was watching news on Aaj Tak, so I had seen there in Haryana, Rewari, a school is running without teacher. So theoretical aspect and practical aspects are different till society is not involved. Philanthropists in the country are not involved. There is the requirement of the involvement of each and everyone to provide quality education, inclusive education, as well as equitable education. Here, I will tell about my school, Mata Jaswant Kaur Memorial School. So this school is providing inclusive education to all the children at free of cost. Here in our school, all type of children we are having, whether they are girl, boys, whatever their background, caste, color, whatever they are, without any difference. We are having physical disabled children, we are having mentally disabled children also, we are having normal children, and we are having economically backward children, we are having socially backward children, we are having general children also. But the education is free of cost for all here. For physical disabled children, as it is in NEP, that there should be ramp for them, there should be the differently designed furniture, and there should be differently designed toilet, CWS and toilet. So all we are having with us. Along with that, here there are certain institutions in Punjab who are working for equitable and inclusive education, like Society for Dignity of Children. This society, this is I will not belong to that. This is run by somebody. So that is also working for the children who are living in slum. And here, this society in Punjab, they are going to slum. There they teach to the children who are deprived. So here the main motive of inclusive and equitable education is that whether we are teacher, we are the member of the society, we are school, whoever we are, whatever we are, wherever we are, our motive should be that no student should be left. No one should be left there without education. So that should be the motive, and that should be fulfilled by the society also, each of us also. Wherever we find some child who is left behind due to his economic background, due to physical disability, due to mental disability, or any of the reason may be there, or socially backward, we have to reach to them. We need to reach to them. We have to provide them the facilities. We have to provide them education. So that is our real work here. When we go to our school, so in our school we should without any partiality, we should treat all the children together there. That should be our work. For example, in NEP, the government has focused on gender inclusion fund. So when we talk about the government, yes, definitely the government will make the gender inclusion fund, but it is the work of society and philanthropists also, that they should also make a gender inclusion fund for private institutions, because now the government institutions are less and private institutions are more. So in private institutions also there is requirement that we can address these children's, their needs, their different needs. They are having different needs. Some are they are having different learning needs, the different tools they require. So for that we need a different fund there. So society must involve there, philanthropists must involve there. This equitable education, what we are seeing now in our country, we are having two strata of education. One who are studying in well reputed schools, in very high schools, and one who are studying in government school in rural areas, where either the teacher is not there in some areas, or if teacher is there, the teacher is teaching more than 2 or 3 subjects, the subject where the teacher is not expert. So these all the areas we have to address when we are talking about inclusive and equitable education. This is the need of this hour. As it is too late, so I will not take much time, and that's why I have not shared my PPT also today. So thank you so much.
Sir, you
This
can
is
share.
all.
We are there with you. You can share for 5 minutes. No problem, sir. Please share.
No, ma'am. Actually, most of the things have been told by the speaker, sir. So
Okay.
there is no benefit of repetition.
Would you like to say something from your experiences?
Yes, about my experiences, I must share, ma'am. For example, here in our school, ma'am, we are having most of the underprivileged children. And here underprivileged not means the economic backward only. Some are economically backward, some are socially backward, some are mentally or some are physically, some are visually disabled. So different type of children we are having. Uh, and here it is not like this is for the underprivileged children also. General children also we are having. So this is a mix. So here when we go to school, so when we deal with these children, so the experience is totally different. When we treat only one type of children, their experience is totally different. And when we deal with the different diverse children, the experience is totally different. As the country, in our country, India is a diverse country full of diversity. So this all diversity must be included in the in our school. And when we deal with this diversity, we learn a lot of things from our children. Children teach us a lot. So that is a major things we learn in our school from the children. The children treat us teach us sometimes how to deal with different situations, especially their mental health, physical health. So these different type of situations we have to deal with every day. The childrens deal with them, they teach us reciprocally. So there are the different type of experiences we have everyday school, and every day the experiences differ from the previous day. In the morning, in the evening, that all the different experiences we are having, but these are very enriching experiences. They are rich than anything else, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay, sir. Thank you so much. And we would like to have on some other session as a first speaker to share your PPT and your more experiences. And humble gratitude to all the speakers over here.
Sure.
And I apologize for you not being getting the time to share.
No, ma'am. I have learned a lot today from each and every speaker. So it is not that we have to speak always. We have to learn also when we are in some webinar.
I think all the educators are my very sincere students following all the time and everything. Thank you to everyone for being such amazing enrichers in this wonderful platform of IDYM NEP 20. And humble gratitude to each and everyone for being present here today with my team members, and gratitude to Pooja sir, Ravi sir, and Dinal, and other team members, Imam ma'am. Everyone is supporting here. A wonderful cooperation to each and everyone for being here from 8:30 to 10:30 every day to learn and unlearn everything. Thank you, Dr. Bedkar sir, for being a wonderful participant every day. Do you have something to say for 2 minutes, sir? Bedkar sir, do you have something to share?
Yes, madam. Thank you for sending the link, and I am habitual to learn and to participate here daily. Very best topics which are useful to all of us and those who are in this field, education field. Mostly you have covered the points which are related to high infrastructure, high reputed schools, where there is no lack of facilities. But in remote area, in rural area, the situation is very different because there are not building for the high school student, no building, no teachers. When there is rainy season, you might be seen in the newspapers. Students with their bags on, they are going with the rope, help of rope, crossing the river. So many serious problems on the rural areas. So thank you. I meet today Principal Pushpendra Kumar sir, which is a very great infrastructure with his school, and working for all the students, those who are from all the society, all the things. Thank you, madam. Your this diocese supporting and giving day by day new topics which are thinkful to us and useful to us. I am getting enriched every day. Thank you for giving me opportunity to speak something. Thank you.
You have very rightly said, sir. It is very easy to say but difficult to implement. Rainy season come, disasters happen, turbulences occur, the flight has to go on. We need to have the courage to maneuver the flight in spite of the turbulences, and that is the what we call upskilling. So this is, this is the law of universe. You have to upskill yourself with all the educators, unlearning, learning, knowingly and unknowingly with all the passionate people over here to actually create grounds of implementation. So as we say, the flight has to go on, the show must go on, but learning must never stop. Thank you so much, everyone, for being patient audience, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night, ma'am.